Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. Today, I am your host, Matt, and I'm joined by my friends Alex and Jem. Before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem for some exclusive content, or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address, wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com. Okay, so today's topic is one that I've had on my mind for quite a long time because as we talk for nearly 4 years now about the impact that gaming has on our lives, it would be a good idea to zoom in on it actually exactly what those impacts are. Because there are so many stereotypes about gaming and gamers that we do our best to dismantle as we go along. But I wanted to just take a moment to truly stop and sit back and appreciate and give respect to the positive impact that gaming has in our lives. So the theme is how gaming evolves us as people and how it evolves the way that we're able to experience our lives. So an opening topic is we're going to look into individual games that we've played in our lives that have changed the way that we live our lives. Because we've all played dozens upon dozens of games over the course of our lives, and it's easy to brush over the impact that they have. So I'm going to start with Death Stranding, which is one of the first games that I've played when I got my new. I played it, I think, 3 times. Played it on PlayStation when it came out. I think I played it again on PlayStation, and then played it a third time when I got my laptop. And I noticed on the third playthrough the elements of the game that I have actually recreated in my life. And the gameplay mechanic is you are a courier carrying hundreds of kilograms of cargo across a post-apocalyptic landscape. And now, in a normal game, it would just be you carrying something, and you walk and walk and walk and fight some enemies and walk, and then you're done. And then you do that over and over and over again. But the game has a completely unique mechanic in that the gameplay is the process itself, every step and every kilogram that you're carrying, and the way that it's stored on your back, the vehicles that you're using, the exosuit that you're using, and things wear out. You've got the footwear that wears out, and so you need to replace it regularly. If you run out while you're on the road, then you can't move very fast, and you've got a set amount of stamina that if you just go and go and go and go, it eventually goes all the way down to 0, and then you collapse and you can't do any more. And then you basically even have to, if you haven't got the gear to build a shelter, or you haven't got any more shoes, then you're screwed. And you basically have to get rid of all your cargo and limp back to the nearest depot. And this has had a profound impact on me because it builds into it the idea that you need to stop, you need to rest, you need to rejuvenate, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing. And the way that it just really makes you feel the weight of the life that this person is living when you have to stop, because you realize, oh my god, we're going through, as everyone is in life, we're going through a ton of stuff all the time. And I believe that if you don't choose to rest, then your body will choose it
Mhm.
for you. And that's when you burn
Mm.
out, and it forces you to stop. So Death Stranding really brought into my life the idea of pacing yourself, and that no matter how long the journey is, you're going to need to rest along the way. And you'll get to where you're going faster if you build in rest rather than you think, right, I'm just going to power on, because then your shoes are going to break, you're going to trip over, you're going to have a post apocalyptic death thing attack you, and then you're not going to be able to run away because your shoes are all fucked and you've run out of battery and all that stuff. Um, so that's where I want to start. Do either of you have a game in mind to kick off with?
Hmm. Well, I was thinking earlier today about Spyro, and that's a game that I played when I was much younger and very small, like one of the first games I played on PlayStation. And of course, then revisited it in the remastered version when that was released not too long ago. And for both sets of those games, the trilogy, Spyro's original trilogy, I think one of the key things that I took on board from those games is a couple of things actually. One of those is resilience, so learning to be resilient in the face of failure, especially when it comes to the sections of the game with Spyro's dragonfly friend, and the races that you do. They're optional, but to get 100% completion, you kind of have to do them, and they're incredibly difficult. Um, and it's presented in this lovely, cute little package with cute little Spyrax going me 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 me, and you have to do them, and you're like, I can't fail at this. It's clearly meant to be something that I need to finish. And the thing that kind of leads on from that, which is the second thing I've learned, is also understanding when I've reached my limit in terms of my emotions and when I need to step away, which is a really important skill in terms of your mental health, to recognize when you need to take a break from something and you're too invested in it, either because like you're getting too stressed and too angry, or you're just tired, or you've just been doing it for too long and you need to go and eat and drink something. Um, so knowing when to step away and come back and feel better about something rather than start beating yourself up about it, which I used to do a lot when I was little. I'd say, well, I'm not good enough. This is rubbish. I hate this, this kind of thing. But as I've got older, you do recognise, when you're starting to feel that way, you should probably take a break. And that, I think Spyro is a really good example of a type of game where that happens a lot. So that's one for me, definitely.
Yeah, that the uh, yeah, that element of perseverance and motivating yourself to do something. And a I was doing some research for this. There's a guy who was writing about how video games help children learn, and he said that a fabulous turn of phrase is transgression in safety, which is your uh, basically you can fail and fail and fail, and it doesn't matter because it's in a safe environment. Whereas in the real world, if you fail, then that can have any kind of impact on your life. I also pointed out that in recent years, games have tried to offer more morally complex and emotionally demanding representation of aggression, loss, and suffering. And that was from 2010. And that trend has continued. Um, and one thing about games that if they don't matter in the most, but they matter in like the most positive way that something can not matter, because I never played the original Spyro, but I played the trilogy and 100%ed all of it. And even though that doesn't matter in inverted commas, I feel good. It made me feel good. I was spending time working towards something that I haven't thought about since, that really mattered to me. And yeah, that feeling of that cycle of genuine feelings of accomplishment and satisfaction. I'm going to come on to a little bit later about what, I don't know if you two believe in the soul or what we might mean by souls, and that'll be an interesting conversation to have. Also, that Spyro reminds me of Crash Bandicoot, which was a crucial foundational pillar of my gaming childhood. And replaying that with the new ones and playing Spyro for the first time, it allows you, it keeps you young. I really believe that playing gaming, even though it's supposed to, the idea of it as a children's pastime is, I think it's probably dead, if it nearly in its death throes. That it keeps you young at heart, because play is something that is drilled out of you eventually as you get into working into long-term work, and it's hard to keep your youthful outlook on life. So I really think that's a big deal of it as well. Jem, did you have a particular game to start off with?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting topic, and I think there's so much that we can talk about. But and the sort of general impact of games on our experience, I think, is really, there's loads to say about it. But a specific game I wanted to talk about was World of Warcraft, actually, because I think one of the key things about World of Warcraft for me was that I was in a raiding guild. So we used to get lots of people together, and we'd either do 10-person or 25-person raids. And one of the things that it taught me was the importance of knowing your role and specializing. This idea that, that we used to have sometimes we used to have people who would come in and they would say, I don't want to be the healer this week, I want to do damage, because most of the characters in World of Warcraft could heal or damage or tank or whatever. So they had different skills, but that you could usually flip between different roles, not in the middle of a fight, but for your character. So sometimes somebody would turn up and they'd just be like, no, don't want to do healing this week, I want to do damage. And they would almost invariably, but with the exception of a few people who were very skilled, be rubbish at whatever they didn't normally do. And the inability of one person to maintain their position and their role within that group could make the difference between a successful raiding experience or hours of dying to the boss and failure. And I think what it made me realize is that that when it's okay to be a cog in that bigger machine. I mean, there's lots of examples where it's a problem, but it's okay to choose to be a cog in that machine that does its job really well. Because if you work really well and you work together, then you can, be extremely successful as a group. And I think, I'm going to be the first one to mention unions today. But I think that's the point that you're often making about unionizing, Matt, is that we are stronger together, and but that sometimes requires us to rein ourselves in a little bit sometimes, and stick to stick to the plan, stick to our role, stick to our position. And again, I say that with a massive caveat that I am not in any way endorsing some kind of, role system in society or, any of those things. But I just mean that within group work, it's okay to have a role, and it's actually extremely satisfying to do your job really well, and to just focus and be good at that thing. So that was one of the things that World of Warcraft taught me.
Yeah, you remind me of I can't believe I've forgotten her name, which is awful. The Jane McAlevey, who was a massive figure in the trade union building movement, the actual skills and work that's actually necessary to make that happen. She died of cancer earlier this year, which it's just what more could there a kick in the face for unions and union organizing to have it's not fair to so that's just a horrifying thing that's happened. But she said that one of the initial tasks you have to do is you have to identify the different kinds of people that there are in a workplace. And it can sound quite dismissive of different kinds of people. And the core of her strategy that actually works is you have to find organic leaders. And these are people that are people just gravitate to and want to follow. And you can't choose to be that. There are some people that just are it and some people who aren't. And then it's easy to take that thing, right, the only people that matter are these organic leaders. But she said that everyone matters, they just matter differently. And I think that's the perfect way to describe it, is that you might have three people at the big tank champions that stride through going.
That was me. I was the tank.
Yeah. I don't know if they have chain swords in World of Warcraft.
No chainsaws, sorry.
Playing space. Then you think, right, they're the golden champions up on the pedestals. But then if you don't have the snipers doing support for them, and the healers who come up and heal them, so two of them go forward, one of them comes back to get in, filled up. Two of you hold an objective, and the other ones go off, and it starts becoming, oh yeah, we all if you take away one of us, they might be okay. If you take away two of us, then the more you take away, and yeah, I completely agree. I've always had this born of a lot of anxiety and low self-esteem, is being, I should be able to do all of this myself. And if I ask for help, then it's a sign of failure and weakness. And gaming has been very, very gradually teasing that out of me more and more, in being able to work with other people without the sort of baggage that can be, because obviously we've all had completely different childhoods, and where everyone is trying to manage and hopefully like tweak themselves, because what gets produced at the end of childhood isn't always a finished product. Yeah, so some really good points. I've got another one for me. I'll go to another big one, which is Hitman. So Hitman is the most important game in my life, and it has been for the last 2 years, really, because I recognized I had this cycle, because gaming is I've always used it as a place of peace and escape from whatever might be going on in my life. The huge range of stuff that comes across with my experiences. And I realized I was in this cycle of I'd find a game, I say like a 40-hour long game, and I'd start it, I'd get stuck into it, and then about halfway through, I'd start getting anxious about the game ending and what I was going to play next. And there, that terrifying period where there's nothing there, that all my demons can come and catch up to me, and stuck in that loop. Then I realized that Hitman is basically an eternal loop of what you can do with the freelancer campaign. It's basically a random mission you can do it over and over again. And it's a beautiful, precise puzzle that is always, I find it incredibly satisfying. But it's not the excitement and exhilaration of playing a normal game like Death Stranding, for example, or God of War. So I worked out if I play a bit of Hitman every day, so I've always got one foot in that, and then that takes all the pressure off of the other game I might be playing, because I think, right, if I reach the end of this game, I'm just going to step right back into Hitman. So I've got that layer of safety is maintained as it goes through, and that's been bleeding out into the rest of my life, in that it helps me diversify the kind of media that I'm consuming. So rather than staying on like particular long form things, like there's a podcast called Crime in Sports, which is the podcast equivalent of Hitman, that has nearly 500 3-hour long episodes. And I just go, like, that's never going to end. So just, I can be safe with that. And being able to have one foot in a safe place that I know I'm always going to be able to step back into has allowed me to be power my way through a load of first-person shooters recently, because they're only a couple of hours long. And so because I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do next, I've been able to power through with that. And then with stuff I've been watching films, I've been watching Warhammer 40k battle reports, started listening to audiobooks again. I used to read an insane amount as a child and then haven't for a long time. And I'm back into reading books. And Hitman really has unlocked an entire new gear for my life. It has evolved me so much. And that's a huge part of the reason I wanted to talk about this today as well. Do you have another game you wanted to bring up?
I don't have another specific game in the same way, but I am interested in games that bring out certain skills or certain understanding of, what your strengths and weaknesses are. So, for example, I realized that, like, my taste in games links to the sorts of things that I like in life, and the sort of things that maybe I enjoy doing in a sort of work capacity. So I quite like the building games, the debate, because I like the mundaneness of some of the repetitive tasks and things, which is really interesting, because I think if you'd sat me down a few years ago and said to me, do you like doing repetitive tasks? I'd be like, hell no. Because, there's a difference, isn't there? When a repetitive task, it can sometimes feel boring. And then there's another time when you feel like a repetitive task is leading you to something positive. So like farming in certain games, for anyone who doesn't know, farming is where you're repeatedly doing something within the game to gain objects or items or XP or something, so that you can progress through the game. And it's generally viewed to be one of the less interesting aspects of gaming, but sometimes it can be really entertaining and really fun, and a way for, as you were talking about, Matt, for you to kind of fill in gaps, or to just give your mind a bit of a rest, that repetitiveness and that safety, I suppose, that the games offer. So I'm thinking about RimWorld. I love RimWorld, and I like to play it for just the building, the structures, and and I hate it when when anything bad happens, when people come and attack my base. Just really stresses me out. But everything else, like just building it, is so much fun, and I quite like moving inventory around when I'm playing games, just like making everything neat and organizing that. And I remember years ago, I used to keep notes of all sorts of things, like how much does it cost to sell, how much will I get if I sell these products on their own, but if I combine them to turn them into that product, is it worth doing that, or should I do this, and all of that sort of thing. And I know now, as I continue to learn who I am, I know that this is something that I like to do in my sort of working life. I like that structure, I like that order, and I'm quite happy to do those things, and that's great, because plenty of other people don't want to do those things. But it was through gaming, really, that I learned that about myself, because I don't think I would have done those jobs if somebody had offered them to me. I probably would have said no. So
I can definitely relate to the organising and structure and enjoying those. I'm very much that sort of person. There's so many games. I don't know. I think it's quite rare to find a game that doesn't involve some element of problem solving in it, which is probably why I really enjoy games as a general rule, because I like to solve problems. And there's some really good examples of like games as strategy and getting you to think strategically, which I've kind of been honing from a young age, I think. Even when I go back as far as playing the Worms games in childhood with my family and battling against each other, it was all part of strategy to think about, well, if I sacrifice my worm here by making him fly across the map and explode, will it actually benefit me in the long run, or should I just keep him safe in the hole for now? And it really gets that part of your brain working really well. I wanted to mention a particular game. I've talked about it a lot on the pod, just because of its impact on me emotionally, and that's the game Journey, which came out in 2012, which feels like a very long time ago, but it was while I was in the middle of university. And I think it's a very unique game in that it doesn't tell you what it's about, but you sort of inherently just know that you need to head towards the mountain because of the way it's designed and the lighting and just the way the horizon looks and everything. You're kind of drawn to it. So it's speaking to you on a kind of like, this is going to sound really silly, but on a fundamental level, we're all just trying to always advance towards a goal, aren't we? Whether we realize it or not. And I suppose the mountain represents, well, I think for a lot of people it represented death and kind of going towards your death. There's a lot of theming around that in the game. And it was about the people you met on the way, I think, as well. And those, you didn't get the other player's name, you could only communicate with little beeps and things, and you could help each other find all the secrets in different areas or help to find the way through, or you could just completely ignore other people and kind of go on your own, which is really cool because that's kind of a metaphor for life as well. But what I liked was that everyone you met, you didn't really realize was being controlled by another player until like I only knew about halfway through that I realized it was another person and not just an NPC, as it were. But the fact that there's no sort of, you can't hear the other person's voice, so it's like there's not even any preconceived ideas about who this other person is or what their agenda is or anything. You're just kind of there as equals almost, and you help each other out. And then, of course, the more you do the journey, the more different your character will look. So you'll get white robes instead of red robes, which when you encounter a white robed character in the game, you feel like they're really wise and special because they're different and they're big, they're slightly larger. And the flag scarf that you get from collecting little flags, when you're white, it doesn't deplete, so you have the ability to fly anytime you want to fly, if that makes sense, because the scarf gives you the power to kind of float around and things like that. So you gain a sort of extra level of wisdom and knowledge for how many times you've done the journey, which makes a lot of sense as well, like on a metaphorical level. But I think it's the first time I actually fully cried playing a game, which for me at the time was a interesting emotional breakthrough, because I'd never played a game that made me cry before. And it was just something about the way it portrayed the journey and the struggle up the mountain, and that you'd be able to do it if you had someone else with you. It was really quite emotional, and I'm sure it was the same for a lot of people. And the sense of triumph at the end uh, was also very emotional, and just kind of walking off together into this white light. So yeah, if anyone's never played it, go and play it. But I definitely think it helped me to process complicated feelings and emotions, and to be okay with letting those emotions show, which sometimes isn't always easy for people.